It's time now for First and 45 with Coach Fitz Hill. First and 45, identifying social determinants contributing to the homicide epidemic killing black males before the age of 45. For the next hour, tell family, tell friends, and get into the game and be equipped and empowered with the Coach Fitz Hill, Pastor Drew Davis, and yours truly, Bishop Fred Harris. It's time for First and 45. Here's Pastor Drew Davis.
Hill, Coach, last week we were a man down. He went all the way to NOLA, and he did not go and bring some gumbo. Claims he's flying. I mean, I'm not real sure what's going on here.
But Olivier, he was
Mama Olivia, he let you down big time.
But I did remember something because Coach said we were going down. We were going to go down to this live show. Yeah. So I knew there was hope. So
growing hope with growing hope.
I just want everyone to know you can't see it, but the coach came in here. He's been working today. He's been moving that ball down the field.
That's exactly right.
I don't know if he's been moving the ball or pushing the whole field from the looks of it. But
Meta 24 is coming to some of the kids. I think they're going to be so excited to walk down the street a couple of days a week and have a peaceful experience. No. I'm telling you, that's why I don't mind being tired the way we have. Just seeing kids doing it. And the stuff I've seen, and for the kids to see all of this stuff that you dream about, like going to Dave and Buster's, right in your community. I mean, it's a game changer. Some things are when you look at the issues that we're dealing with, and this week, and I know I'm gonna say this in our Bishop Open Prayer. I got a call earlier this week, and over the weekend, and the gentleman said, "Hey, Coach, 4 of those young men that we've been reading about here in the Little Rock, from the Little Rock School District." He said 4 of them were in 6th and goal. And he said during the time that over the 7-8 years, and I started counting back, 18, 19, and I said, "Yeah, that's right." He said, "Yeah." He said, "Those were our kids disengaged," and he worked for the Little Rock School District, and he was sharing that with me. And he said, disengaged kids. And I thought about it because I got a call over from Hamilton, their new director, and I'm hoping that we can continue what we're doing because I think once they walk into a place and see the simulation games of life, not just for toys, but something that Dr. Prince is building, as we saying, yes, it's entertaining. It's because of the way of our brains and things are programmed through our social media and everything. Dr. Prince has it's monumental how this can be transformative in educating a kid, which is why we were enamored with it when we saw it, and to realize you can increase a kid's literacy score, his comprehension through that while it's consumed. And I'm saying everybody's not going to play sports, and I know that, and so to me, Meta 24 is if you don't ball, Meta 24 is giving you the call.
Yeah. And I mean, I think what's exciting to me is when you open up the playbook of Meta 24, it's got a little bit of everything. If you can't find a place to grow and become a contributing member to society inside the curriculum, man, something's wrong. Because whether it's on the technical side of it, or it's on just the creative side of it, or the artsy side of it, or just the educational side, there are places to get involved, and all of it, the goal of it is leading to a catalyst for economic development, for your personal economic development that's going to pour over into our community development and open up a whole heck of a lot of things. And with that, we've been talking a lot. We better get to praying, Bishop. Lead us in here, sir.
God, we just say thank you.
The conversation is just surreal, much needed, and thank you for the hope that's being just placed in these different places and on the campus, that these young people can have opportunity to not only dream but have dreams come true. And we just thank you for that. Thank you for Meta. Thank you for Coach Hill and what he's doing. Thank you for Pastor Drew and just all of those persons who are serving in the community to meet these needs and to mend brokenness and to save lives. We give you praise tonight. You get all the glory, and we thank you for the victory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. And I like to always kick off with the why we do what we do. It's the hungry. America has a hunger crisis, 44 million people affected, and Arkansas is the hungriest state of them all. The United States has the world's highest rate of children living in single-parent households. There are over 391,000 children in the U.S. living in the foster care system, nearly 4,000 of them right here in Arkansas. And for a kid that ages out of the foster care system, that means they turn 18, they're out on their own. 80% will have a child or be in prison within 2 years. 65% of them will experience homelessness. We got kids raising kids when our daughters become mothers before they're ready. Without adequate love, adequate guidance, and adequate stability, the enemy gains ground. Nearly 1 in 4 girls in the U.S. will become a teen mom by the age of 20.
What was that?
1 in 4, 25% will have a child before the age of 20, and their children are significantly more likely to grow up in poverty and encounter violence.
Drew, that's new to me. I didn't know that. And comparatively speaking, how would that have looked in the 20th century? That would be.
I mean, if you go back to even when we were in high school,
right.
If a young girl got pregnant, a lot of times it was going away somewhere.
No question.
And then that child was either put up for adoption or was adopted by their parent. There was something there.
Well, I've shared that story with you about my oldest brother. He was in college, and just changed the whole dynamic of my family when that happened, and had to drop out of college and go. And my parents required him to get married and to go into the military, and wouldn't allow for the wedding to take place in the church. It was outside.
Wow.
I remember that in 1974.
Morals, standards.
Oh, no. And couldn't wear a white dress.
Yeah. And personal responsibility.
Yeah, that's
because that's the other thing. When we look at these teenage mamas, what drives me batty is they shouldn't be doing this alone, but we got too many men that walk away from their personal responsibility.
Absolutely. And there's so many dynamics that leads to that because you mirror what you see. And so, then, my brother, he could have rebelled.
Yep.
All right. But he did what he was told.
Could he really rebel?
I'm saying he could have left home. I'm saying.
There would have been
run away. Right. But he would have been like a castman, right? But he followed. Here's what my father and my mother told him was the right thing to do.
But here's the thing, they positioned themselves to be able to make such statements to where what they said to him
that's right.
had meaning and value.
No question.
But that's why you talk all the time about the underlying issues. If there is no support system, all right, to deal with those areas where you bring value into these persons' lives at an early age, they have nothing to balance. They have nothing that, and so so when you mess up back in the day, when we messed up, we knew we messed up. We knew we were going to get in trouble, and we knew whatever dad or mom said we had to do, we were going to do it.
No, that's consequences.
It's not about the mistake as much as what you're going to do to fix it.
Yeah, that's right. I said that's why I spell consequences. The N is not, it's S-I-N. It's consequences.
Exactly. Also, poverty grips 38 million Americans. Kids of color bear the brunt of this. And in Arkansas alone, we've got 17,000 students who are experiencing homelessness. By the time they hit their teenage years, millions of American kids have already experimented with drugs, and 40,000 people die from overdoses every year. The U.S. leads the world in the total number of incarcerations with more than 2 million people. At Every Arkansan, our vision is to see more people chasing their God-given dreams, and far too often those dreams are sidelined because of the zip code you were born in more than anything else. And we're blessed to be able to host First and 45 with Coach Fitz Hill, because all these facts I just mentioned are contributing factors to the one fact we've got to change. The number one cause of death for a black male 0 to 44 is homicide, not car accidents, not cancer, not heart disease, homicide. And it breaks my heart to know that that's a fact. And I was going to share the FBI today, Coach, released a report that violent crime was down 4.5% in 2024. Looking at Little Rock Weekly Crime Report, overall crime is down 17% so far this year. Our homicide rate's up 36% this year. So we've got 9 more homicides as of right now than we did last year. But overall, crime is down. And I searched all of these news releases that were around the FBI release, and there's not a mention of in any of these reports on why.
Yep. I see.
No new tool to deter violence, no magic pill to make society safer, only the current state of crime.
Yeah.
And it was interesting inside there, the same stats stated that there were 24% fewer mass shootings in 2024 over 2023, which just tells you that when we hear news and we hear our problem are these school shootings and these mass shootings and all that, Coach, in 2024, there were 499 mass shootings. 2023, 659. The total number of deaths from either of those years was minuscule in comparison to just one-on-one homicides that we are experiencing on a daily basis. And those homicides aren't assault weapons. Those homicides are handguns. When we look at this, I share this information about this crime because it's like, I think we're looking at the crime problem wrong. We're saying, oh, things are getting better. Oh, well, this is our real problem. This is where we got to attack. Our real problem are 2 individuals that have a beef, and firearms are too readily available, not big firearms, but little firearms. This is an individual basis, which goes back to what you talked about, consequence, sin.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at these problems, we are not going to have a magic bullet. We are not going to police our way out of it. We're not going to incarcerate our way out of it. We're going to have to take the approach that this is a sin issue, and we have got to teach kids what sin can do when it grabs a hold of your heart and holds on tightly, and it wrecks your life and it wrecks others' lives. We talk about the hand grenade side of things. We talk about all of this. And that's why when you start talking about Meta 24, when we look at our education system out there, our education system worked for me. It worked for you. It even worked for the bishop, I believe. But the truth of the matter is we've got far too many kids where it's not working.
Right.
We got far too many kids that are slipping between the cracks and becoming statistics like what we just shared. And that's where what I'm excited about with Meta is it offers an alternative.
That's exactly right.
It's not to say you're bad and we're good. It's to say, man, there's more than one way to accomplish this mission. Not every kid needs to go to college.
Not at all.
Not every kid needs to even go a traditional route in high school. They don't all need to play football.
That's right.
We got to have some basketball and some track and a little bit of everything in there.
And don't have to be a student athlete.
Don't have to be a student athlete.
Play the band.
We got to create enough viable options for our young people that they can look at it and they can say, that's me. Man, I can do that. I can chase this. I can go after this. Because what we've got right now is we've got a large population that look at life and they don't see a future for themselves. And Meta and what's going on there, the changes that are being made at Arkansas Baptist to reimagine that the college experience isn't just about going and getting a degree. It's about, man, there's more. There's, I am my brother's keeper. No question. I am responsible for the moral fabric and welfare of my neighborhood and my community. If I gain all the knowledge of the world, I miss out on that. What have I gained? Absolutely nothing. Hey guys,
You preaching, though.
it's the end of the first quarter
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
But hey, we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna be back. I got a lot more to talk about, so don't go anywhere. First and 45. Hey guys, Drew here, and for the last 11 years, we've worked together to build the Arkansas Dream Center. And over those years, things have grown, opportunities have happened, but we've continued to focus on that mission of every Arkansan chasing their God given dream. And for that very reason, our corporation is actually known as Every Arkansan Inc. We have two ministries that really work together in tandem to see that mission take place. We have the Arkansas Dream Center, which is going out and we're reaching out to the communities. We're in those communities with mobile trucks. We're doing after school, we're feeding, we're doing all those things you know us for doing. But in addition, we realize that the church is the answer to a lot of society's problems, and there's one on every corner. So we have City Serve that comes along the side of the church, and they provide the resources. They provide furniture and clothing and diapers and all these things to the local churches so they can reach out to their neighbors. And together, when those two start to mesh, we're going out and we're bringing the churches alongside of them, and we're equipping and we're resourcing those churches. We can truly empower the local church with the resources they need to strengthen relationships in their communities. And that's what our vision is for Every Arkansan Inc. And we're so glad you're a part of it. And we are back with First and 45 with Coach Fitz Hill. Coach, this weekend I forwarded you a video, and it was three young men. They were wearing pajamas and robes. On their feet, they had their slides, and they had just had the front doors of the pharmacy locked on them. They were kicking and pulling at the doors, cursing up a storm, trying to get out. And in their hands were bags just stuffed full of snacks. The police had been called because these kids were shoplifting. Not only were they not turning loose of their loot, but they were yelling back at the staff that they were minors and they had to release them and they better not touch them and all this. Their age was their get out of jail free card in their mind. And then all of a sudden, as soon as you watch one video, you know, like 27 others of similar nature going to work up. Another video I saw, a young girl being arrested inside of a Walmart security room for shoplifting. Her argument to the police was that they had no right to arrest her because she was a minor. The threats back at the officer were, my mom is going to sue you for putting your hands on me because I am a minor. And then I watched another encounter where a 17-year-old man was being followed by the police, and instead of stopping, he kept going until he pulled into the parking spot in front of his apartment. He jumped out yelling for his mom. And when the cops told him to get back in the car, his argument was that he was a minor and the officer had no right to tell him what to do. 3 different encounters, 3 different events, 3 different police officers, 3 different cities. But this one excuse, I am a minor, you can't do anything to me. I mean, never, hey, I'm sorry for what I've done. Never, hey, please don't arrest me. Never, oh, I messed up or whatever. Always this excuse of, I'm a minor. And it reminded me of a quote, bad leaders care about who's right. Good leaders care about what's right. This moral decay here, this quote speaks directly to the crisis of juvenile crime and the misguided defense of some of our youth. I am a minor. Instead of seeking truth or justice, this bad leadership, whether from parents or the system or peers, deflects accountability by focusing on personal status rather than on moral clarity. Good leaders, however, model righteousness not excuses. Proverbs 21:3 says, to do what is right and just is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. God's standard doesn't bend for age or title. It upholds truth. When minors use their age to justify wrongdoing, they often reflect leadership that prioritizes protection over correction. And I look at this, these kids, I don't know if they're learning it from each other or if parents are teaching it or if there's some book that we've
Right.
missed out on reading, but never, ever would I have thought to tell my parents, hey, you can't spank me. I'm a minor.
No.
Hey, you know what? It's all okay. I'm a minor. I mean, we've heard the stories of the kids that their parents are actually receiving money from these grown-up men and women that are stealing cars and putting 13-year-olds behind the wheel because they won't go to prison of it.
Correct.
Somewhere, man, we are corrupting a generation of even more excuses than I can ever imagine. And I'm thinking about this, Bishop. You and I've got 15, or I think your son's still 14, but
13. Mm-hmm.
but if he were to come to you and say, Dad, you can't spank me, I'm a minor. Dad, you can't punish me, I'm a minor. What's the first thing that pops through your head?
Oh, my dad. It's becoming, because I could never say that to my parents, and so it would make me become my dad all over again. But that's the behavior of kids today, and that's the kind of conversation that y'all remember back in the day. Somewhere between us kind of getting a few numbers on us where they start talking about calling scan.
Yes.
It's the same thing, but now today it's really learning the behavior of if you get arrested, you get in trouble. Here are the things that you say to try to, but man, I mean, look, more kids are getting charged as adults these days because of the crimes are so real.
I wish I'd have seen these stories when we had Casey last week from juvenile. Yeah. To ask her exactly as a prosecutor what in the world they would tell these kids.
Well, I mean, it's unfortunate that money or even in poverty, even though it has an influence, it doesn't raise kids. Parents are supposed to raise kids, and the void that's not created is why the teachers and the institutions are struggling, because there's not a foundation and train up a child the way he should go. And when he gets old, he will not depart from it. So now that hadn't happened. So the foundation of how God intended for this to transpire has fumbled. And so this is what you cannot make progress toward the goal, toward the end zone, when you're losing the football. So we are continually losing and going back. We can't win until you address the fundamentals. What's the fundamentals of raising children? Family, parents. So when you have mother and father, children, you have community, all right? From that point, you have safer neighborhoods. Then you have state, then you have nation. Well, we're trying to repair this on a large spectrum, and we're not getting back down to the fundamentals of just like the Navy SEALs. In the most impactful time of conflict, what they say happened, you revert to your training. All right? So they train so hard that it's automatic. When you watch them and see them, how they already know how to cover and protect each other, to repel, to get back, to call in fire when they know they've been overrun, about to be overwhelmed. They just work automatically together. Well, that video and those things you were talking about, that's not transpired. What does a kid have to reference? He has nothing to fall back on.
Well, I think that's what it is that they're falling back on, is the street knowledge.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying.
By the street,
that's it.
That's what they're.
So that's their fallback.
Street,
bad info.
That's bad. And so now we're up here thinking, well, what's wrong? Yeah. Well, it's hard-fetched for me to blame a child, and that's the reason I try to rehabilitate as much as I possibly can. And y'all know, when I say I don't want to work with one, probably nobody else gonna want to work with him either, because I'm the last person to want to throw a kid to the wolves, because that's usually That's why I love Arkansas Baptist College, because I can give a kid an opportunity without saying, many colleges, do you have a record? Do you have this? Do you have this? We don't, no. Jesus wouldn't suspend.
Right.
Am I right?
Absolutely.
All right. But he gives you a game. If he tells you how to seek me first. Right. All right. And those are the game plans that are not being executed in our lives. And then we want to know why we're dealing with this, high death rate, high incarceration rate of this specific population that's overrepresented per capita in most categories. And so that's why First and 45 was created, to just focus on this specific population, because this specific population it has the greatest amount of deaths that could reduce the death homicide rate in the United States by over 50%. Now, I just cannot understand that when you look at this. If I was Surgeon General,
right,
and I'm looking at the way to make America safer,
Right.
that would be the first statistic that I would look at. And I would say, because not only that, if you look at that and then you decrease the shootings, so murder and attempted murder, America becomes safer just in that alone.
right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but now we go look at other things and we try to come up, when I'm looking at the public health crisis, why is this not like cancer, breast cancer? The month of October, every football program, college and pro, will be wearing pink.
Yep.
And breast cancer is not the number one cause of death for females. It's number two. All right. But the attention is given to it.
And they focus on fighting cancer,
right,
rather than
prevention is the cure.
Yeah.
Prevention is the cure. Yeah. All right, and there's not.
They don't say how many more funeral homes can we open up because the number of cancers is growing.
And that's the research and development to say, okay, if you get early detection, right, and you can get treatment, then you have increased your odds. That's all we're saying over here. What do we call early detection? Is elementary school suspension. That's early
it's
detection.
Early detection, but then also someone along the way thinks that's also the cure.
Yeah.
And detection is not the cure. Right. Detection is, we got to attack.
Yeah.
We got to get in there and get involved. And I mean, we're going to have to go to a break here in just a minute, but there's some stuff that Arkansas is doing this year in the schools I want to just kind of bring up, because I think this is something that some of this stuff is something parents that are out there listening, we need to take into Act 123, free breakfast for every public school child in Arkansas starting this year. Okay. Not just the kids that are on free and reduced, not excluding anyone that's got an outstanding debt with it. Every kid can get free breakfast. We all know that, man, when you feed a kid, they're less likely to get themselves in trouble, Coach. I mean,
right. Absolutely.
You've been in trouble from Billy for years on your food bill over at the college.
Yep.
Man, when we take care of kids, I'm excited to see what in the world impact this has on our kids being able to focus and pay attention. Act 122, cell phones have been banned in the classroom. I think this is another good move. I don't know how they're going to manage this, but another distraction taken out of the classroom. But the one that kind of sickens me, Act 573, that was going to mandate the 10 Commandments, and in God we trust in all the Arkansas classrooms, has been kind of put on hold by the courts, saying it's unconstitutional. And I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm like, we can ban cell phones, we can feed kids, but we can't teach a moral code because we might talk too much about God. And can we just say, can we just, in God we trust. But it's one of those things that I'm looking at this. I mean, we've got about 20 other acts that are all about money and putting more money in there. But man, we can throw all the money we want at this situation, and we're not going to change things unless we change the way. So hopefully they'll work something out on the 10 Commandments.
worst case scenario, maybe they'll work around and keep morals in there.
Right.
Because they did create laws and laws of religious rights in schools. Yeah, you can teach a lot of stuff in the school, in the Bible. But hey, guys, it is halftime. It's back to school season here, and we're having class in session tonight. So don't go anywhere. Coach will be right back at first and 45.
Black men have so many different problems, so many different issues. Homicide rate, high incarceration rate, fatherless homes. What is America going to do about it?
What are we going to do about it? Yeah, what are we going to do about it? When I say we, I'm talking to black men. I'm asking us, what are we going to do about issues that negatively impact black men and boys to a greater degree than other demographics? Everybody knows about the homicide epidemic in this country regarding black men and boys. While comprising only 6% of the nation's population, we account for 50% of the nation's homicide victims. So what are we going to do about it? Here's another disturbing reality. While making up only 6% of the nation's population, we're about 40% of the nation's prison population. In fact, 1 in 3 black males are projected to go to jail in their lifetime. Again, I ask, what are we going to do about it? Collectively, black men have the means to solve these problems. We just don't have the mind to do so. And means without the mind is meaningless, brother. It doesn't mean a thing.
As a former football coach, knowing the engagement that takes place on the football field, the basketball courts, the track, baseball, outside of extracurricular activity, META is the best academic curriculum I've seen for the oftentimes socially challenged student. And glad to have a pilot program going here now with Hamilton Learning Academy, as well as juvenile detention facility, to inspire, grow hope to a population of kids who sometimes don't believe that in the United States that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is for them. And so this opportunity allows them to see that, to feel that, and to engage in that, and to leave here thinking that I can do something that maybe they didn't think they could do prior to enrolling in the META 24 program.
All right, who's the CFO? Yeah. Come on up. Give the CFO a round of applause. All right, what's the marketing promotion team?
My name is Shania, and I make this pillow. It's a baby pillow for babies. It can be for a boy or for a girl. It's saying, be what you want to be. I really want to make a side hustle of this and give pillows to the hospital so you don't get good rest with soft pillows like this.
Richard, I want to 3D print some stuff that will help us in the world. I would love to print 3D houses to help architects build real houses, because there's a lot of people in the world that homeless right now, and I feel like if I'm able to print 3D houses, I feel like architects can make more houses faster.
And we're back with first and 45 with Coach Fitz Hill. Thank you, Pastor Drew. Great first half. And Coach, at the latter part of the first half, we were kind of just engaging in, and what Pastor Drew was kind of saying is, why the language, why the conversation, why the response, on the other side of negative behavior. And you were kind of alluding to, this is why you're excited about META 24, is because you are more connected to not just the statistics for locking up and throwing the key away, but getting to the bottom line of the underlying issues, to turning the faucet off. Kind of talk about why META 24 is so important for kids at every age, pretty much.
Yeah, the engagement process of education. When the thing about the history of Arkansas Baptist College, why I'm just intrigued. Every day when I as a way when people say, "What are you doing?" I say, "Well, basically, I think I'm educational evangelist. Okay, so that's kind of how I determine that I do as a coach.
He wants his own white towel to wave.
No, I'm just saying because I'm evangelizing access to education, and the reason that's important to me is because when I was walking Old Main today, and I just think about even the chapel, and thinking about 1893 when that building was constructed. And then I think about last week I visited the cemetery and I saw my great-great-grandfather, Watson Hill, born in 1829. It just, when I understand the history, and that was the reason it was so important for me to get Professor Edmund Davis back on campus to teach history, to understand. I just don't know if students today really understand the opportunities they have, even though nothing is perfect. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that. But to understand that you have an opportunity to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And what I think Arkansas Baptist College is a resuscitation process to stimulate that thought process. So a person, to understand, you are guaranteed that in the United States of America. Okay? Doesn't mean everybody's gonna treat you right. Don't mean everybody's gonna like you. But you have an opportunity that people would do anything for the opportunity that you have in America. So I just want to focus on that for the rest of my life. Am I going to get mad about? No. If I can take the same energy that my forefathers took, my great-grandfather who was a slave, and make the best of the situation that I have and create that from within the own blessings that God has bestowed upon this institution, and be able to bless somebody else who's not being blessed, who is restricted with their access of education opportunities, and then engage them in a meta education environment and not a Chromebook and in a room in a cubicle, then the stimulation factor of the new 21st century child will be stimulated to the learning structures of the brain, which then will be looking forward to how can I stay engaged in this because I'm attracted to it, rather than telling kids, this is what your degree is going to be and this is how you're going to utilize it. Well, Meta lets you explore that on your own, from fashion, okay, CDL training, all these different things, broadcasting, doing your own, give you an
opportunity to find yourself.
Rather than saying, well, I don't get this opportunity, right. And so, to be able to understand how this can take an approach for, as a control group of kids, that I'm just saying, if we take all of Drew's kids right down the street at the Dream Center, and if we can inspire them with 2 days a week that they're able to visit and look forward to that on a Tuesday and Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday, and they can be exposed to that and then said, man, that's what I want to be. Mm-hmm. Then once the brain is stretched, it never regains its original dimension.
Hear the young lady saying, was it Anaya? Is that her name? That was on that clip. That
right.
She said, "I'd like to have a side gig."
Exactly.
But selling pillows, not selling drugs.
Yeah,
but selling.
That's it. That's what I'm saying. And so now you start stretching and come up here, and you put them in a life situation that lets them apply now, and you can go to school on your phone. You can get engaged, and I think. Why this show is so important to me is understanding, how we approach this and looking at this in a prevention standpoint. Because look, what we have seen, the government is going to spend the money on the suppression. Mm-hmm. What I call in combat, when they're shooting at you before, like we're talking about, you have to shoot back in order to stay alive. Otherwise, you're dead. All right. So that's, until you can get back and retreat and then call in fire for effect for some artillery, you have to fire back while they're shooting at you so you can get back to, home base. And so that's what I'm saying right now. Hey, listen, there's plenty of money going into building prisons, hiring more officers, expanding the county jail, all those things where we see the resources are being there. And I'm not in disagreement with that.
That's based focus on the problem and not the solution.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you what I call air, land, sea, you need that. You need that. Okay. But what I'm saying, if we don't focus on, and concurrently on the other issues, then we're going to continue to have to expand. And that's what we see because, when I look at these social determinants birthing the black male homicide epidemic, I just go back to what we talked about, birth to 10. Okay, to the age 10, because I break that down in the first down type of deal to get to 45. So think about it. We look at teenage pregnancy, welfare of infants, elementary school suspension, and no activities and low literacies. All right. So now all that takes place in those first 10 years. All right. Well, you just mentioned 25% of the population are now being born to teenage mothers. I didn't know that. You have just awakened my senses to that. I knew that the percentages were high in certain categories, in certain areas, but I didn't know that was a national statistic.
Now that is young girls in poverty.
Yeah. Okay. Now, yeah.
When we look at the numbers, that's a large percentage of our U.S. population.
Right. So you're looking at that number across. Well, so now when that happens, there's a bingo effect that's taking place. The teenage pregnancy. Okay, what's next? Welfare of infants. When that goes back to what we said, 50% of black males born to mothers in poverty,
right?
Teenage mothers in poverty, have 2-to-1 chance of going to prison. All right, so just keep unraveling this situation. And we're just building. If we don't fix this, and we're building prisons, and we don't fix this, we can't build enough prisons. All right. So then,
it is crazy to think that we've got a cancer problem in America, and we just need to build more funeral homes.
Yeah, no question.
That's the mentality. Yeah. If we don't step back,
and
look
same
at it,
thing. Same thing. Because then I just start looking at these steps. Okay. Then what's next after those social conditions? Elementary school suspension. Well, we just know anecdotally. Michael Crump called me the other day, and we have a meeting coming up, and he wants to push forth on the survey of the kids so we can have the data to examine their background so we can make very strategic decisions and look at this from the region and areas where they're from. So because every area that is not the same.
Right.
So you have to understand the terrain of the environment, just like when you're in combat. Okay, hey, you can't drive something up that big mountain right there. you may have a big you may have a big tank, but it's not gonna make it up there.
Right.
Because of terrain. Well, the same way we approach here, one thing may work in the Delta, may not work in a non-Delta area, but then. What happens when you suspended from school? Then you got no activities. You're not involved. All right. Then what happens when you're suspended from school? You're not involved. You have low literacy scores. Well, we already know what that happens. So the foundation of dysfunction has been set. All right. And so now if what I'm hoping is that through what we're hoping, we can address that population, take the meta incentive plan, of engagement that a child now sees something and walks in and his eyes open up because he see these lights and then he's engaged into this gaming and next thing you know, we done tricked him. we done tricked him. And now he's sitting up there thinking he's gaming, but he's learning. And so now we have given that child motivation of something like a kid who wants to play sports is now engaged in a education curriculum that he thinks he's gaming. And listen, gaming is big business now. I mean,
massive.
Yeah, exactly. Las Vegas and things are paying big time money for that. But we're trying to understand the prevention and intervention of that child because the next 10 is when you get ready to head, and I'll go back to this right after our break. I'm talking about the next first down is from 11 to 19. So for you to keep making progress toward the goal line to get to 45. These are the things that keep us from getting to 45, and that's why it's called first and 45. And we're fumbling, in the first 10 years. If we can reestablish that for this core group, we can see a change of the numbers. Hey, we'll be right back. It's first and 45 with Coach Fitz, Pastor Drew, and Bishop Fred. Stay tuned.
Black men have so many different problems, so many different issues. Homicide rate, high incarceration rate, fatherless homes. What is America going to do about it?
What are we going to do about it? Yeah, what are we going to do about it? When I say we, I'm talking to black men. I'm asking us, what are we going to do about issues that negatively impact black men and boys to a greater degree than other demographics? Everybody knows about the homicide epidemic in this country regarding black men and boys. While comprising only 6% of the nation's population, will account for 50% of the nation's homicide victims. So what are we going to do about it? Here's another disturbing reality. While making up only 6% of the nation's population, we're about 40% of the nation's prison population. In fact, 1 in 3 black males are projected to go to jail in their lifetime. Again, I ask, what are we going to do about it? Collectively, black men have the means to solve these problems. We just don't have the mind to do so. And means without the mind is meaningless, brother. It doesn't mean a thing.
And we're back with the fourth quarter. We got our final quarter coming up here with first and 45, Coach Fitz Hill. You're talking about those statistics, and 25% that you guys are talking about of the young ladies in poverty, teenage pregnancy. And you talked about, what about the males? Because for that 25%, there has to be a male connected to that 25% of females.
I mean, there's some wacky stats out there, and let me pull this up real quick. And this is kind of crazy, and I didn't believe it until I kind of pulled it up. But there are 11 million women age 18 to 24 in the United States. 1.4 million of that 11 million are OnlyFans content creators. Which is, I mean, just kind of crazy to me that the value of these women is found in selling themselves out to entertain men.
And that venue is there.
Yeah.
Because the men are paying.
And that I was trying to find that other statistic.
Can you imagine getting caught looking at porn? I mean, as a child. I mean, it wasn't even because we didn't have social media. I mean, the worst magazines, or something. But I can't even imagine. Boy, what you doing?
And I don't see. I thought I'd written it down, but it's like you said. The number of men that are supporting that behavior far outweighs the percentage of women.
No question.
And what we've got a group of women who are selling themselves way short, and a group of men that are paying for it.
Yeah.
And they're writing out checks on that side of it, but they're not writing out checks on supporting the consequences of those actions.
Well, Drew, you talked last week on the show, the fatherless communities. I mean, that Peter was running about. Well, I would bet if you take those individuals there, you would see the impact of the fatherless community.
Yeah.
Right there. Because think about it. If you have a father, and I have 2 daughters, and that's the protection mechanism of your children, that you're going to do everything that you possibly can to make sure your daughter is not in that space to the very best of your ability. But if you don't have a father on both sides, and there's there's things to look at. I was listening to a study talking about, the homosexual lifestyle and trends of that oftentimes lead to that. And it just looks at this sin gap, that's taking place, and how it's all sin. And so it's really hard to identify one sin against the other, because when you can look at adultery, you can look at, um, um, being involved in relationships that are not of the Lord. But I think we have to understand, as the fatherless community increases, the sin and the dysfunctional also increases.
Yeah.
And until we address this issue biblically, it's just really activity with no productivity, because that's the core of it. And so you can't get away from that. So we can sit here and try to fix everything with the social program, with the nonprofit. It's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because and that goes to the second phase I was talking about. So that kid who is born in that environment of birth to 10, now what you see the next 10 years from 11 to 19, what happens? When you have those type of things trending or guiding your life, the next thing happens, you drop out of school, suspensions. And we know right now that, because at that particular point, those are the kids that end up in the juvenile detention facility that we're working with. Well, why? Well, most of those kids come from those things that we just identified. So our thing is to immediately, when we see, I think there were here in Pulaski County, a young lady had already identified three teenage pregnant young ladies in middle school. Okay, so just think about that. That's 6th, 7th, 8th grade. All right. So now, how you in the environment that was probably created in, okay, was in many cases a fatherless community. And we're not speaking down on any situation. We're trying to find out how we can intervene and keep that situation from
the 3 doesn't turn to 6.
That's exactly right. And then what we see is that oftentimes, those young ladies, and the data I want to say that you mentioned earlier, it says that for the young ladies, that 25% of the men who are involved in those teenage pregnancies do not graduate high school.
Right.
Okay. So remember the stats that says a black male that does not graduate high school has a 70% chance of going to prison during his lifetime. So now you take the majority of those who are involved in that, it's just a vicious cycle. So then when you look at the fact that where we're going to intervene and where we're going to have the diversion, because now after the 11 to 19, okay, the 20 to 30, 20 to 29, what we have, you have no employable skills. Okay. All right. So that's why we got to get to, you're in a rehabilitative state, but you have no employable skills because you haven't been to school. Right. All right. You've been surviving. Turtle talks about it all the time. I mean, that was his lifestyle. Then you go. So now you're in the system. Well, what do they make you do when you go to the juvenile or go to prison? You have to get a degree. You have to get a GED. That's the first thing they're going to make you do. And it's pretty amazing how much support you get to get your GED in prison and how little support you get to get your education outside of prison. And so I'm just saying, I want to produce the same energy. And so if we can get those individuals younger, in the elementary school identified, and in the young teenage, birth to 10, 11 to 19, we're going to have a shot with Meta. Just, to the point that Dr. Prince has already seen it be transformative in the lives of this, this mindset. And that's why he gave me the book to read, the Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and understanding this is what the education does. Think about, a slave coming off the plantation been working in the plantation and finally get to come to Arkansas Baptist College in 1893. You were a out there picking cotton in 1855 to 1865 and freedom. Then finally, you wanted opportunity to go, and so now you come up and you see this building, Old Main, and so your mind is just, wow, I'm gonna be able to, I can do this. And nobody then was telling you your test scores were too low. Nobody then was telling you couldn't read. They were saying, no, we're gonna help you go from here to here. That's what Meta does. All right, and that's what we're gonna do. And that's the engagement tool that we have now that I've never seen in my time. I was using athletics to grow Arkansas Baptist College. All right, because why? It was the engagement tool the kids want to do. Now you take that and you add Meta to it, guys. I'm telling you, we are brewing with something special, because I think it's important, that we understand that from 1980 to 2000, America's spending on correction and incarceration outpaced spending 6 times the rate of investment in higher education. Now think about that. So that's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be, it's almost like, think about this. This is what I think Meta is, and I know we've got to wrap up. Do y'all remember with your grandmas and everybody riding in the yellow cab, riding if you ever drive a cab? Right. What you ever rode in your guy? And our grandma come pick us up, go to the grocery, go to Piggly in the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
And
it
disrupted it based on something, because hey, it's just, that's what I see this to be. Meta to be the Uber that's going to change the transportation in education of the deliverables in our community. And that's why I'm so happy to be a part of this and to disrupt this for this specific population. This is made specific for this population, just like they want to make something specifically to get into Harvard or Yale, or, you need that designation. This is made for this specific 2% of the population that everybody can be a part of now. I'm not, nobody, but I'm saying we're going to make sure that we maintain that for this population, because if we can turn those, then those numbers that we're talking about on attempted murder and violent crimes will be decreased. Hey, my man Fred has gave me a 2-minute warning, and we're doing the countdown right now. Hey, we look forward to being back with you next week. It's 1st and 45 with Coach Fitz Hill. We'll try to have some special guests with us next week and see how we can continue to upgrade your listening with this data and statistics that will give you insight facts that you don't hear anyplace else. Bishop Fred, would you close out in a word of prayer?
God, we thank you. We bless you and we honor you for the time. We pray, God, that you continue to help us as we aspire to help others. In Jesus' name we pray. Thank God and amen.
Amen.